Greetings folks, this is the Ultra HD 4K Sports Action Camera from TomTop. This is a mid-range action camera, not a true 4K, it's interpolated 4K. It will do 2.5K at 30 frames a second, interpolated 4K at 24 frames a second, 1080 at 60 and 30 frames a second, and 720 at 120 frames a second. 170 degree field of view. It does have a Wi-Fi app and can use cards up to 64 gigabytes and can take still images of 20 megapixels. And it has a 30 metre waterproof underwater housing. Let's have a look at it. So it comes with a very impressive collection of accessories. User manual, some cable ties, some straps, transfer cable, 30 metre underwater housing, a spare back with openings to let more sound in, but it's not a waterproof housing then, the skeleton back and the clip that clips into the skeleton back, sticky pad mounts, sticky pads and cleaning cloth, all the different angled pivoting mounts and a handlebar mount as well. Let's have a look at the camera itself. On the front we have the mode button and power button and a little status screen and the lens. On the right hand side we have up and down buttons and a little speaker. On the top is the shutter release and a little status LED. On the left hand side we have the micro SD card slot, the micro USB socket and the HDMI socket. And on the bottom there's the battery access door, and that reveals the 950 milliamp hour battery. Okay, let's have a look at the functions and the menu. Push the front button to power it up. Starts up in video mode, and all the information is here. Video mode, wide dynamic range is on, time, resolution, angle of view, microphone is on and off. You can turn the microphone on and off using the down button there. That's a good one to remember because you can accidentally turn that off. SD card is inserted, battery's full, date and time, that's the recording time available I guess, and the exposure value there. Another push of the front button and we go to photo mode, anti-shake is on, all the other information, 20 megapixels. What's that, normal quality maybe? We'll check that out anyway. It can take 3,000 or so 20 megapixel images on this card. Next push of the button goes to the playback menu and you can play back what you've recorded, and then we get into the setup and resolution. So the highest resolution is pseudo 4K at 24 frames a second. Then we've got the first true resolution, 2.5K 30 frames a second, 1080p 60 frames a second, 1080 30 frames a second, 720 120, 720 60 and 30, and then down through the lower resolutions. If you'd ever want them, I'm going to go to 1080 30. Okay, loop recording for recording in segments rather than a full continuous video. Gyroscope on or off, good to try them out. Wide dynamic range, I love having this option available. Timelapse record, and it has some good short interval times. I generally use 1 second or 5 seconds. Motion detection, will start recording when it detects motion. Record audio, you can turn that off if you want to. Date stamp, I usually have that off. Angle of view, you can change the angle of view, but that deteriorates the quality quite a lot, so I would always leave it on widest angle of view, 170 degrees. Diving mode, changes the colours a little bit so that it's better underwater. Special effects, I never play with these things, but if you're that way inclined, they're available. Self timer, excellent idea. Image size, leave it on the largest burst. multiple photos with one push of the shutter button. Quality, we'll go to fine quality, I think. Don't need to save space. Sharpness, you can play with that if you find it's too over sharpened or under sharpened. White balance choices, yeah, a few of them, that's good. Generally leave it on auto. Colour, you can get pseudo black and white or sepia if you want to. ISO, you can select an ISO or use auto. Exposure values, if you're finding it's overexposing or underexposing, you can adjust that yourself. Anti-shake, I think this is a photo mode rather than a video mode. Delete, protect, Wi-Fi, turn the Wi-Fi on and off via the menu, or you can do that one of the buttons. I'll have to work that out. You can change the Wi-Fi password, you can set up the date and time. I'll do that later on. Have it to auto power off. That annoys me, so I'll turn that off. Beep sound, I might just turn that off, I think. Voice prompt, yeah, I'll show you that a bit later on, but I'll turn that off eventually. On-screen display, that'll be for the TV out. Car accessory, you can power it from your cigarette lighter outlet. Choose a different language, choose NTSL PAL, choose the TV out. That you can use that for FPV or connecting to a TV via the HDMI cable. Screensaver, another thing that annoys me, I'll turn that off. Frequency, format the card, go back to default settings, and the firmware version, this is version 2, pretty recent. Back to resolution. Now I'll just show you that weird voice prompt.
Video start.
It will tell you
Video stop.
video stop and video start,
Photograph.
and tell you when you've taken a photograph. That's a bit too weird for me. I think I'll turn that off. Voice prompt off. Voice prompt off. And push the front button to turn it off again. I was hoping to have a bit of a walk around the waterfront here, but the weather has turned quite nasty. Strong winds and rain, but at least I can check out the audio quality and whether it's in sync with the video while I'm sitting here waiting for the rain to go. This is diving mode or underwater mode. I'm guessing this will be less blue, more red colour. This is 1080-60 with no gyro. Dull overcast day. This is 1080-60 with the gyro turned on. .4K, 24 frames a second. .5K, 30 frames a second. .5K with wide dynamic range on. Okay, my final sum up of the 4K Ultra HD sports camera from TomTop. I tend to divide cameras into three categories. There's the high quality ones, there's the mid-range okay ones, and then there's the cheap budget ones. This one would come in, well, it's a pretty cheap price, it's under $100. It'd be the bottom of the middle of the range cameras, I suppose. It's okay. It's amazing what it can do for under $100. It has a cheap lens which produces some odd colour fringing on fine details or high contrast areas, and the firmware doesn't do anything to correct that. It has that odd pink banding in the blue sky, which a lot of these cameras have, which kind of annoys me. I wouldn't want a camera that did that, but if your budget is under $100, this is not a bad choice. The 4K is interpolated 4K. Still, if you need a 4K output, it'll do it, only at 24 frames a second. The 2.5K is probably the best of the settings. That gives you the widest angle of view. The 1080-60 is a nice setting, but again, that image quality, because of the cheap lens, sort of lets it down. The gyro works very well. The audio is very nice, even better than the more expensive cameras like the SJ7 and the T5e. The audio is quite nice from this camera. Wide dynamic range is included, and there are quite a lot of adjustments you can do to improve the quality of the image. There is a Wi-Fi app available for download for your smartphone. You can probably use it for FPV as well if you find the right cable for it. So that's it. It's a middle of the range, cheap camera. If your budget is under $100, this might be one you'd consider. Thanks to TomTop for sending it for a review, and the purchase link's in the description, and thanks for watching.